Today, I'd like to conclude some reflections that I've been offering on the Dobbs decision, the recent decision by the United States Supreme Court that overturned Roe versus Wade. One of the things that sometimes happens when a decision like this comes out is that there is a lot of jumbled information that is disseminated. So, of course, we have to be careful. A lot of misinformation about people that experience miscarriages will not get treatment. People who have ectopic pregnancies will not get treatment. Uh, that is really, for the most part, not the certainly the intent of this decision. Uh, and different, of course, state laws have to be looked at in terms of really what they offer. So we have to be careful in generalizing. You have 50 different states with 50 different approaches. So again, becoming knowledgeable on what the state you live in and what their law is, and then seeing what are the facts behind the law, and what is the misinformation about the law. Certainly, that's important to look at. Now, who makes the decision on whether or not the life of the woman is in danger becomes an issue with regard to this. So, if your state has a law and it says, well, we will not, make sure that the woman's life is preserved, we'll try to do everything we can to do that. But then again, in some situations, then there could be a delay. There could be reluctance of medical personnel also. So a lot of these are very human, but very real factors that we have to deal with. Well, I'm a doctor, and this is a difficult decision. I don't know what to do. I can be prosecuted. I might lose my license to practice. This might endanger my future. I have all these loans to pay back for medical school, or I have a big family. My kids are going to college. All of these things are factors that you're thinking about as a doctor. Your first goal, of course, is to preserve the life of the patient, but then there are these other factors, and you become worried and nervous because of this decision. So certainly those are real considerations that we have to deal with and make sure that doctors have clear guidelines, that they're not prosecuted for trying to really do the right thing and help a woman who is in danger. Uh, One of the things that's sometimes brought up with regard to this situation also is, a lot of people are very gung-ho about life and preserving life, but then we have these tragedies that happen. A recent tragedy happened with regard to immigrants who were smuggled into the country. They were in a trailer, they died, suffocated to death because of lack of oxygen. And we're saying, well, we're pro-life, and we want to make sure that life is preserved and life is precious. Life is precious from the very beginning, that moment of conception. It's precious till natural death. We want to preserve that, and yet are we doing everything we can to preserve the life of others in our society who are vulnerable? So this is where, of course, this decision becomes a challenge for us. Can we be consistent in our ethic of life? Uh, Immigrant families, of course, are in these parallel situations in terms of preserving life. Think of yourself as a person who is in another country and there is violence, there are gang issues, lack of jobs, food problems, food insecurity. All of these issues play on your mind, but yet your call is to preserve life, to preserve the life of your family. What do you do in that situation? And so if you're trying to flee to another country, again, should the people in that country be receptive to that? Certainly, you don't want people abusing that and just coming and, wrecking another country and causing mayhem and problems and criminals and drugs and guns and all of these situations, which are realistic situations which we have to deal with. But yet at the same time, there are these people that are vulnerable, that are in need, that are generally seeking asylum, seeking refuge from difficult situations. Will we provide for them? And again, this decision about respecting life certainly is calling us to examine, well, how do we respect life in all of these many situations? Whether it's capital punishment, whether it's the poor, whether it's war, whether it's immigrants, all of these situations cause us to deepen our reflection on this. And so the importance of really being flexible, flexible in terms of how we approach people, how we approach their needs, how we approach their concerns. And certainly this decision is calling us to reflect on that and to try to be more flexible in our approach. Women of privilege, are they imposing their values on vulnerable women? Is always going to be a question. Well, I am well off and I have access to good medical care and I can get this if I can go to another state. I have money. All of these. Well, what about somebody who is vulnerable? How do we assist that person? And maybe their vulnerability is a reason for them even to contemplate an abortion. Maybe because of the financial situation they're in, and we've seen that connection between poverty and women who are seeking abortion. So again, the underlying condition, how do we address it? How do we help women? Certainly that has to be part of our reflection and part of the solution. The importance of personal experience. We have to communicate with women and help them in a positive way. Uh, just having a law or, a situation that we think covers everything, well, does it help that individual woman, that person who is in need? Are we reaching out to them? And also a factor is, are the men who are involved in this situation of impregnating the woman, are they being responsible? And how are we calling them to be responsible? And how are we calling them to assume the role that they should have in this situation? So I think what this decision calls us to is to look at a comprehensive vision. We have seen recently that one state, Kansas, has voted not to have such a restrictive approach to abortion, sort of a different path, take a different path with regard to it. And of course, this decision by the Supreme Court did not say anything one way or the other too much about abortion, other than that it is a decision that really is not a constitutional decision. It is a decision that is up to individual states to adjudicate with the people of their state. Uh, and so this Kansas decision seems to say, well, maybe people feel that there should be some sort of different approach or different solution on this question of abortion. So we have to look at that and see how it evolves. Another issue has come up with regard to certain medications that can cause abortions, but they also are used for women in other situations that are very helpful to their medical conditions. And so we have to look at this and say, well, we don't want to penalize these women who are in difficult medical situations and need this medication and not get it because of restrictions on abortion, which, in a particular state might be legitimate, but we have to be careful to protect other women who are not at all seeking an abortion. They're just seeking really to help themselves in a certain medical condition that this medication deals with. So again, these are certainly very important and related issues. So I would say as we reflect on this decision, the key element is to seek something that is comprehensive, that covers all aspects of life, that is supportive, and that engages in a genuine dialogue with the men who are in the situation, and also with the women who are in vulnerable situations, to try to arrive at something that is good for them.